With all the hype surrounding the ARK 2 trailer that was released during the 2020 Game Awards, with Vin Diesel playing a character known as Santiago, it's about time I tell you guys all of the lore surrounding the Extinction map on ARK. Hello Survivor and fellow gamer, welcome to ARK Lore Extinction Part 1. Our main character of the day is Santiago, who built the portals that got everyone off of Aberration and onto Earth. You can see these portals on the Aberration map. He obviously had help constructing them, but he was the main engineer. Upon arriving on the Earth, the survivors find a barren wasteland. Not only was it hard to find food and water here, but the survivors started running into element-infested creatures. After finding some ideal terrain, the rest of the survivors began construction on Camp Omega. The leader and head engineer, Santiago, designed mechs to help them defend themselves from these hordes of nasty creatures. His greatest invention was the combination of 4 mechs to create the Mega Mech. Its sole purpose was to protect them and destroy anything that would come their way. But unfortunately, Santiago never finished completing all 4 mechs. Their camp was found and attacked by an army of corrupt creatures. Santiago sacrificed himself to lead them away, but was never heard from again. Santiago may be missing, or possibly dead, but he still has a big role to play in the story. Hey Survivor, this is ARK Lore Extinction Part 2. After Santiago sacrificed himself by leading away the hordes of corrupted creatures in his mech, the rest of the survivors were left leaderless and didn't quite know what to do. But before his disappearance, Santiago had told Helena about a mysterious signal he had detected somewhere nearby on the planet. He didn't know what it was, but whatever it was, it had power. Helena had a feeling that this signal might lead them to a place that had all the answers they were looking for. So the group set off across the barren wasteland. The signal led them to a huge structure as big as a mountain that still had power. After hacking into one of the terminals, the survivors finally figured out what the ARKs were or designed for and where they came from. As it turns out, the ARKs were designed as lifeboats to help cultivate life until life on Earth would be possible again. In fact, there were hundreds if not thousands of them all around the planet. Embedded in the code, Helena also found what's called the Reseed protocol. Once element infestation levels were low enough, the ARKs were meant to come down and terraform the Earth to make it inhabitable again. But something went terribly wrong and that never happened. While exploring the only structure on Earth that still had power, Mei Yin and Helena found something completely unexpected. Hello Survivor, this is ARK Extinction Lore Part 3. And by way of recap, our survivors are now back on Earth where they found this ginormous monolith of a structure that still has power. They hacked into some of the databases inside where they were able to find some answers as to who they were and what the ARKs were. While exploring, Mei Yin found some type of small tech prism or gem. Mei Yin could carry this thing around without any problem, but when Helena touched it, it opened up to reveal a glowing white gem. Not only did the device open to reveal the small gem, Helena almost passed out when her mind was flooded with images of destruction, a great war, corrupt creatures, and some strange glowing man. Mei Yin quickly confiscated the gem because she didn't want what happened to Rockwell to happen to Helena. But Helena was convinced that this strange device held the answers they were looking for, especially when she realized that the shape of the small gem inside might fit nicely inside of her survivor implant. After touching the mysterious gem, Helena started dreaming about a glowing man, the end of the world, and the element infestation that was creeping across the Earth. But little did she know those weren't dreams, they were visions. Hello Survivor, welcome to ARK Extinction Lore Part 4. Helena started to suspect that her dreams were visions when they received word that an army of corrupted dinosaurs and creatures were headed their way, led by the big boss. The survivors tried to hold out as long as they could, but in the end it was only Mei Yin and Helena left. Desperate and out of options, Helena decided it was about time to test her theory that that gem did indeed go into her implant. But after she did, Helena stopped feeling so well and soon went unconscious, leaving Mei Yin to fend for herself. Using the mech and her insane fighting skills, Mei Yin was able to get herself and Helena out of there. But things weren't looking so great for Helena. She kept going in and out of consciousness and babbling about this place called the Tomb of Ascension. Mei Yin wasn't too keen on visiting any tombs right now, especially after all that had happened. They didn't really have anywhere else to go, so Mei Yin set off in search of this mysterious Tomb of Ascension, with the corrupted hordes not far behind. Okay, we all know that Helena's pretty awesome, but how did she get from this to this? Hey Survivor, this is ARK Extinction Lore Part 5. As Mei Yin set off for this place that Helena kept calling the Tomb of Ascension or the Throne of Ascension, things became even more desperate when Helena became completely unresponsive. It didn't help that while trying to lug around Helena's body, Mei Yin kept getting attacked by all these corrupt creatures. That's when Mei Yin decided to put her old taming skills to good use. In a matter of days, Mei Yin was able to piece together an army of creatures that were all bent to her will. With the help of Mei Yin's new friends, they finally found the place that Helena had been babbling about. Not knowing what else to do, Mei Yin placed Helena inside the bed-like structure in the very center. But that's when things got even worse. On the one hand, the Tomb of Ascension turned on and seemed to be doing what it was supposed to be doing, but Helena didn't wake up. That's also when all of the corrupt titans and a huge army of corrupted dinos and creatures decided to show up. Mei Yin fought desperately to protect her friend using her mech and her new army of icy creatures. But the very same time that Helena ascended to become a Homo Deus, Mei Yin Li knew she was about to die. With the Forest Titan closing in, and Mei Yin's mech almost completely broken down, you will not believe who showed up right in the nick of time to save the day. Hey Survivor, this is ARK Extinction Lore, Part 6. Now bear with me while I make a couple corrections to my last video. First off, Mei Yin did win out against the first horde of monsters, and she came back just in time to watch Helena's body dissolve and her ascend in a bright flash of light. And with no monsters coming for her right then, she took a brief rest, only to wake up in her half-broken mech with this guy and another horde of monsters bearing down on her. But right when Mei Yin was about to die, someone else in a mech showed up. With a savage fury unknown to most humans, this person tore apart that lumbering forest giant. Once the fight was over, Diana Alteris stepped out of her mech. But if you don't remember who Diana was, it was Mei Yin's dearest friend and lover back on Aberration who was killed when Rockwell injected himself with Element. So if she died, how did she get to Earth? That's a story for next time. Diana coming back to life is pretty cool, but it also gives us clues as to what we can expect from ARK 2. Hey Survivor, this is ARK Extinction Lore, the final part. After being killed by Rockwell on Aberration, Diana woke up on a post-apocalyptic Earth, butt naked, not knowing where she was or how she got there. She already knew that the ARKs had cloning chambers to create creatures and people, so she assumed that she must be a clone of herself, but with all of the same memories that might have been stored through the wrist implant. But who or what brought her back? She figured it must be the same person whose mysterious voice kept popping in her head telling her that something was urgent and she needed to go somewhere. On her way to wherever she needed to go, she found the remains of Santiago. Her journal entry mentions finding the remains of his mech and making a grave for him, but she never says anything about finding a body. Was the Santiago in ARK 2 a clone or the real deal? Or does it matter? Shortly after reuniting with Mei Yin, they set off in search of this place called ARK Prime, guided by this mysterious voice in their heads. Along the way, Diana finishes Santiago's creation, the Mega Mech, which they used to defend themselves from the King Titan. They left us a note saying they'll do their best to prepare the Earth for the Reseed protocol, but the rest is up to you.